Now more than ever, we are aware of everything our frontline workers, first responders are going through, so many acts of heroism, and yet they're dealing with problems of their own. They're seeing more traumatic situations, and they're dealing with PTSD. Well, Code 9 Project is there to help those frontline workers, first responders, veterans with resources. So we're going to speak now to Brandy Lee Baker, and she is the co-founder and president of the Code 9 Project. Thanks for joining us, Brandy Lee.
Good morning, Roxanne. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, this is dear to my heart because my brother is a firefighter, and I've talked with him about PTSD. One of the most interesting and worrisome things about it is that it can be extraordinarily subtle. So you've got someone walking around saying, nothing to see here, I'm fine, everything's fine, but underneath they're dealing with so much. How do you help those people?
Well, by offering as many programs and resources as possible in different ways. So our organization is we call it a tree. We have many, many different limbs. We have a chaplaincy, we have critical incident trauma specialists, we have peer support specialists, we have a bunch of branches of resources so that first responders, military, veterans, law enforcement, they have options, because it isn't a one-stop, one-fit type of situation, as you mentioned. You know, there are many, many different symptoms, there are many, many different signs, and there is also a very large stigma still to this day present in struggling. There's a very unrealistic expectation that is put on our first responders, our military, and our law enforcement with regards to expecting them to manage daily tremendous stress.
You're right. You're right. And Brandy Lee, this is your baby. This is your project. You co-founded this. And what's your personal story that made you want to do this?
Well, in 2010, I lost a very close family member. He was a combat veteran and a law enforcement officer. He had PTSD. At that time, it just wasn't talked about. It was complete secrecy. It was very, very unspoken. There was a huge stigma, and I decided to start some stress education programs to begin the path to help create a bridge for people to get support to prevent suicide, because it's an epidemic, and it's still an epidemic right now.
And I'm so sorry for your loss. And I know something that was brought to my attention during these times, there are some programs in place for instance, firefighters. They can always use more. But I've heard that healthcare workers get the shaft a little bit, that it isn't put as a big, great priority for them to get the help they need with PTSD. And of course, with what they're dealing with now, it's just, there's so much on their plate. So what kinds of special things do you have? And I also want to hear about these meditation tapes. I know that's something that's a part of your program.
Yes. Okay. So we have a national 24 hours a day, 7-day a week helpline, where peer support and chaplains are available for frontline workers, military, law enforcement, first response. On duty or off, pick up the phone, 844-HOPE-247. Again, 844-HOPE-247, and we will get you connected immediately to some support. In addition, we have taken our national chapters of peer support all over the country and put them online, and we are offering peer support rooms via Zoom twice weekly, twice a day. So that's Tuesdays and Fridays, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So this is a peer support group, confidential. You don't have to turn your camera on. Open to frontline workers, medical professionals, law enforcement, military, federal, state, local, to be able to give these individuals who are selflessly serving support, easy access.
And I know that there are situations that your team has dealt with where you have someone who is, you know, in that situation, that dire situation. We understand it, the adrenaline, the lack of sleep, and they're thinking about they're going to take their life. This happens. It's tragic. And you have people that are able to work right then and there with them and stop them from doing that.
Yes, we provide acute resources, we provide ongoing resources. This is not something that goes away. And the thing about PTSD and cumulative trauma and excessive exposure to stressors is there's no rhyme or reason when you have this tipping point. And the important thing to understand for all frontline workers, for all those that serve, is to understand that it's not about strength, lack of, or being strong. It's about overexposure to your nervous system of stress. And at some point, you're gonna need some support. So just like we have our primary care physicians that we don't talk to every day, having a support system, knowing that there are resources available and being able to freely reach out to them without any stipulation from departments or policies or political issues, that's why we are here.
Having that in place is so important. Thank you so much, Randy Lee Baker. The code9project.org is where we can find you. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, and thank you, brother, for service.
Thanks. We'll be back with more on Tampa Bay's Morning Blend.